Neverland. Yeah.
Team members include Andy Sheeran, goalkeeper; Nils Blavin, defender midfielder; Edvin Andrade, defender forward; Sergio Real, Dylan Jacoby, midfielder, defender. Starting tonight, the Buccaneers in goal, Chad Chadwell. Midfielder number 12, Robert Radcliffe. Junior forward number 19, Rick Barr. Sophomore midfielder number 10, Tom Forgeron. Sophomore forward number 16, Aaron Benzor. Sophomore forward, Shane Melrose. Sophomore midfielder number 18, Brendan Johnson. Sophomore midfielder, Steve Wisnu. Freshman forward, number 15, Matt Teeter. The starting lineup for the Saints tonight: in goal, senior Tom Tim Montana. Senior defender, number 2, Jerry Smith. Senior midfielder, number 3, Matt Tessier. Senior forward, number 5, Carlos Sanguinetti. Senior forward, number 14, Saad Mikiel. Junior midfielder, number 6, Arturo Porco. Junior defender, number 7, Jonathan Santos. Junior defender, number 8, Paul Terhar. Junior midfielder, number 11, Peter Albert. Junior defender, number 13, Hernan Valdivia.
Go, guys! From Torrey Pines High School, welcome to the Division III CIF Soccer Finals. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions, and tonight it's the St. Augustine Saints going up against the Mission Bay Buccaneers. The Saints come into this evening's game with an overall record of 18-7-2. We're runner-ups in the Harbor League with a record of 5-2-1. The Bucks overall 13-4-2, won the Western League Championship going undefeated with 7 wins and no losses. The Saints are coached by Jim Duffy. The Bucks coached by Bruce Cochran. The game, of course, about to get underway. You saw the introductions and all the lineups. We'll gradually go over that as the game progresses through. The Saints will be wearing the purple jerseys. They'll go left to right on our video dial. And the Mission Bay Bucks going right to left on our video dial will wear the yellow shirts, black shorts, and white socks. The officials for tonight's game, the center referee is Brian Elliott. The linesmen are Daryl Wren and Kim Gage. And we're underway. The Saints will quickly move the ball across the halfway line as Peter Albers attempts to work it downfield and just broken up momentarily by Santiago Rodriguez. And here come the Bucks. They're working across the halfway line here on the near side. As Ty Guzik, the sophomore left defender, works it out to Aaron Susi. And attempting to center it inside was Josh Schuyler. The header there. So you can see the goalie, Chad Willenberg, coming away with it for the Buccaneers. They're a very well-rounded team, very talented team this year. Ball just working back and forth here at the halfway line. You can see the field conditions very slippery there. That was Aaron Susi, the talented senior left winger, just unable to get his footing. Aaron coming into tonight's game as a Western League first team co-player of the year. And a strong kick down towards the goal area. That was Jimmy Wang, the sweeper. So you saw Jimmy Wang attempt that shot from way outside. Jimmy, the other player that was the co-player of the year in the Western League. Also a first-team All-Western Leaguer. So a very talented player. A big play there by Tim Fontana, coming well out of the box to make the play for the Saints. But getting back to Jimmy Wang, he's a senior, comes into tonight's game as a defender with 6 goals and 4 assists. So a multi-dimensional player for the Bucks on this season. You see Fontana, he gets it across the halfway line for the Saints. The header by Peter Albers. So these teams playing earlier on the year. As the ball crosses the touchline here on the near side, the Saints will have possession going left to right on our video dial. The Bucks, of course, defeating the Saints by a score of 2-1 earlier on the year. Aaron Susi and Jimmy Wang scoring a goal apiece, and Matt Tessier scoring the lone goal for the Saints. And Schuyler, you can see him working the ball outside to Matt Garrison on the right wing. And it appears to be a free kick coming up here for the Bucks. Aaron Susi will handle the kick. As you can see, the Saints lining up accordingly in their wall formation here. And here's the kick by Susi up high, and a nice play there by Tim Fontana. Goes high up with his right hand and just bangs that one up in the air, up over the goal. So Fontana getting the job done inside the net here in the only going for the Saints. And let's very quickly take a look at the quarterfinals and semifinal games for the Saints. They defeated Union City by a score of 3-0. Albers had 2 goals in that game and 1 unassisted goal by Deleuze as the corner kick comes in, and the Saints able to come away with it as Matt Tessier works it up, and finally Critelli Scatolini, the talented junior defender, coming up to keep the ball in possession of the Bucks. So the Saints, to make it into tonight's final game, defeated Crawford 1-0, and Peter Albers getting the goal on that one as well. So Albers doing a great job on the offensive end for the Saints in the finals. And nice control there as the Bucks almost almost squeezed that one through. I just saw Socrates Scavallini, very talented on the dribbling end there. Almost scooted that one through, trying to get a little help from a teammate, but to no avail, and the Bucks actually get almost 2 consecutive shots on goal. So a corner kick will be the result. And the Saints, they get the job done defensively on the corner kicks, have only allowed 1 corner kick all season long to go for a goal. The header there, another header, and 3 consecutive headers as finally the Saints come away with it and just drive the ball out down towards the halfway line. Jimmy Wang trying to get it back into the goal area of the Bucks. As Josh Schuyler, the centering pass inside to Socrates Scavallini. And back the other way. You can see the Bucks hustling back just to cross the halfway line and get the ball going back in possession of their team. The reverse kick, I should say, by Aaron Susi. As the ball works back and forth here at the halfway line, let's very quickly take a look at the teams that the Bucks defeated. In the quarterfinals, they defeated Madison by a score of 3-1. In the semifinals, they defeated Coronado 2-0. And Aaron Susi having great games, scored a goal in the first game against Madison. Or actually scored 2 goals, as Nick Pabarkas had a goal as well. And in Coronado game, Aaron Susi had 2 goals in that game. So Carlos Sanguinetti for the Saints will bring the corner kick in. You can see all the players lining up according. They'll break right off the ball as Sanguinetti comes up for the kick. That one a little bit too high and a little far. And the kick down just off to the right there by the Saints. That one taken from outside the 18. So Craig DeLuz taking that shot. It just scooted right through everybody. Of course, was unable to connect on the shot just off to the right as little contact is made there between Jerry Smith and Tony Seiler. Zaid McHale trying to get something going on the offensive end for the Saints. Zaid comes into tonight's game as one of their leading passers, has 10 assists during the regular season. And a strong high kick by Fontana. And Tim had a great year during the regular season, only allowed 5 goals in league play, and his counterpart, Chad Willenberg, had 7 shutouts, and he allowed only 3 goals in league play, as Socrates Scavallini trying to get by the defender, Hernan Valdivia. Sanguinetti, centering pass to Craig DeLuz. Nick Pabarkas, he's just a junior. You can see him working downfield. And Zaid McHale controls, tries to center it inside to Tuna 2. That one taken away momentarily by the Bucks and back in possession of the Saints. That was Jimmy Wang handling the ball in the air. Just coming over to make the defensive play from that sweeper position as to not allow any type of offensive surge. As you can see, Matt Tessier, the senior midfielder. Matt with a productive year as well. Very consistent, had 9 goals on the year and 9 assists as well. 30 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first half of play. As Craig DeLuz tried to get free there on the offensive end. That one was finally broken up by the Bucks. So you can see the cheerleaders in our screen here. That, of course, you're watching the Mission Bay Bucks cheering their team on to a victory here in the early going. So you can see the Bucks trying to work that ball down to Josh Schuyler. Just, of course, stays inside the halfway line. Will go back in possession of the Saints. So Jerry Smith in your screen. They call him the Punisher, very aggressive player for the Saints all year long, getting the job done on the defensive end all season long. You can see him hustling in, about to get the ball in play with just 29 minutes left in the first half of play. And of course, an injury time, of course, will be added on to the 29 minutes. The clock that you see here on the far side is somewhat unofficial, but technically correct. We'll keep you abreast of the time as we progress through the game. Jimmy Wang works it upfield to Tony Seiler. And that one banged away by the Saints. And you can see DeLuz hustling back as quick as he can. And finally, Chad Willenberg, of course, coming well out of the box to make the play. So the Mission Bay Bucks taking it across the halfway line. Socrates Catalina, and he finally worked that one upfield. You can see Aaron Susi from that left wing position busting towards the goal area, and a nice defensive play by the Punisher. Aaron Susi, we mentioned earlier, the Western League first team all-league player, comes into this evening's game. As you can see the clock, there's no score in the game, just almost halfway through the first half of play. Aaron Susi comes into tonight's game with 17 goals, has 12 assists, very, very dangerous from that left side, has a very, very strong left foot. Also one of the fastest players in the league. As the corner kick comes in, and the Bucks, you could see Santiago Rodriguez go up for the attempted header for the Bucks. That one, of course, just rising a bit too far over his head. So the goal kick coming up by Tim Fontana. And Tim's philosophy, I spoke with him before the game, he says he likes to try to angle the ball to either the left or the right side of the center circle, depending on what side of the goal area that he lines up on. And Fontana having to actually dive back for that one, coming from his own teammate. As that ball just bounds across the halfway line, you can see Socrates Scatolini here on the near side. Tries to work it upfield to Tony Seiler. Josh Schuyler at the halfway line working to keep the ball in possession of the Bucks. And you can see Aaron Susi working against two players. Tries to fire it down to Tony Seiler. And of course, Hernan Valdivia, the talented junior sweeper, making the play for the Saints on the defensive end. Of course, Hernan, they call him the boss of the defense, one of the unsung heroes on this team all year long, one of the best kickers on the team as well. Susi attempts to go back to Josh Schuyler. Santiago Rodriguez centering pass to Pabarkis. Pabarkis works it down to Susi, and that one taken away. The nice defensive play by Paul Terhar. Paul, one of the aggressive defensive players for the Saints all year long, also played on the JV football team. So he's not afraid to bang in there and be physical. As Susi works on the near side here, goes back to Josh Schuyler, and Schuyler with a nice strong pass upfield, and Fontana having plenty of time to come out of the box to make the play. Jonathan Santos, he's just a junior left defender, working the ball up across the halfway line. As Matt Tessier and Jonathan Santos working it across the halfway line to Craig DeLuz, the header to Arturo Porco, and Porco with a shot just off to the left as you see DeLuz hustling down to try to make the play on the offensive end. And of course, Chad Willenberg having plenty of time to come out and make the play. So 24 minutes left on the clock here in the first half of play, still no score. The Punisher with the header towards the halfway line. Peter Albers trying to head it downfield as quickly as he could. That one just getting slightly away from him as Paul Terhar trying to control, and Socrates with the centering pass. And that one attempted to be controlled by Matt Garrison, but to no avail. As you can see, Josh Schuyler hustling over here on the near side. The ball crosses the touchline, and Carlos Sanguinetti, he's a senior. Carlos having a great year coming into tonight's game. On the regular season, had 14 goals and 13 assists, so a very productive year for Carlos Sanguinetti as well. As Tessier worked it down the far side. So Matt Tessier will handle the throw-in here. And Matt actually having an assist from about the same exact area in one of the playoff games. Really has great strength on that over-the-head toss-in as he shot, of course, from well outside by Hernan Valdivia. And of course, Chad Willenberg basically just standing still as the ball comes into his hands, and he punts it away over the halfway line. The header by Nick Pabarkis works it upfield. As you can see, Garrison and Socrates Scatolini hustling down in that goal area to try to get a shot on goal. That one broken up by Peter Albers. You could see the attempted one-touch pass by Tony Seiler, just trying to get it down on the offensive end of the Bucks. So a very fast-paced game. A lot of the players very talented, very fundamentally sound. Of course, Carlos Sanguinetti to attempt the corner kick for the Saints here. And that one high and strong, almost a repeat of the first kick by Sanguinetti. Josh Schuyler working it up across the halfway line. And you can see Matt Garrison showing great speed on the offensive end, and Jerry Smith coming up to make a nice play defensively. Garrison comes into tonight's game as an all-West League honorable mention player. Actually, his first year playing for Mission Bay took a 6-year hiatus. So he's back with the team, has 6 goals on the year, a very talented give-and-go type of player. The one-touch pass, and he'll move quickly. You saw his great speed on the far side. As the strong toss comes in from the Bucks, and you saw Fontana go up for the ball, lift it up in the air nice and high. And of course, a little contact was made, and that was by Nick Pabarkis. You can see the center referee, Brian Elliott, just talking to him, and I think the contact was somewhat incidental as Fontana gets the ball out to Hernan Valdivia and back to Fontana. So we're halfway through the first half of play here at Torrey Pines High School, a beautiful facility. A nice warm evening, perfect evening for soccer. Of course, this game was canceled twice previous to tonight because of adverse weather conditions. We mentioned a little bit earlier how you can see the field. It's fairly dry, but there are some areas that are a bit slick. So if you see a player or two slip, you'll understand why. As Jerry Smith tries to work defensively along with DeLuz against the Bucks. Of course, the Bucks able to still handle, and that was Aaron Susi able to get the ball downfield in possession of the Bucks part of the field. So Hernan Valdivia will give way to Jerry Smith. You can see all the players lined up and about to break off the ball here accordingly. The header by Peter Albers. Across the halfway line is Matt Tessier. As you saw, Zaid McHale hustling down in the offensive end, and hustling just as fast was Santiago Rodriguez. So the ball, of course, will stay in possession of the Saints on the far side. Matt Tessier is actually credited with an assist on the same type of throw-in we mentioned earlier. So he's effective with the throw-in, and that one belting into the body of Arturo Porco. And Tessier centering pass to Albers, shot on goal just off to the left. So, of course, the goalie coming out of the box to make it seem as if it might have been a great save, but of course that one just off to the left never would have found its mark, I should say. But it was a gallant attempt by the Saints. As you saw, Tessier center that one into Albers. Carlos Sanguinetti with the corner kick from the far side this time. Let's see if Carlos can be a little bit more accurate this time. His first two attempts, a little high and a little far, than I'm sure that he would like. You can see him with his hand up in the air, signaling that he's about to kick it in. And that one, a better kick. The header by Tessier, and a nice play there by Chad Willenberg. He went up high. That one, of course, off of his right hand and over the net. Almost a similar play that we had in the first, or actually the first 10 minutes of play by Tim Fontana. So both goalies getting the job done this evening. And, of course, the second consecutive corner kick coming up by Sanguinetti. You can see Albers, Tessier, Porco, and Deleuze right there in the goal area, just awaiting the successful kick by Sanguinetti. That one comes in, that one's to the outside. Tessier with the header, the other header by the Flash, and that one, of course, coming up short. Nice play in the air by Nick Pobarkis. And hustling down to the far side is Garrison, and the shot just off to the left by the Bucks. And you can see Garrison, that was Matt Garrison with that sharp shot. You can see him after he attempted the shot, he came up holding his head as if to say, I wish I had that one back. I'll tell you what, he just sizzled that one just to the left of the goal. Of course, that play was started by Jimmy Wang, the sweeper. So I'll tell you what, when each respective team gets the ball in the other team's goal area, this game gets exciting. The header by Pobarkis, attempting to get the ball inside to Socrates Scatolini. Josh Schuyler working it to Pobarkis. Scatolini and Hernan Valdivia getting tripped up. And of course, the Saints will have possession going left to right on our video dial. 15 minutes and 35 seconds unofficially left in the first half of play. So we mentioned earlier in the broadcast that the Bucks were successful with a 2-1 victory over the Saints. So the Saints, of course, will look to redeem themselves tonight. Matt Tessier. Once again, they like to use him as the player handling the throw-in, and you can see how far away his teammates are from him, right down in that goal area. There are not many players that can throw the ball with that much velocity and that much length on the toss-in, but it comes in towards the goal area, and that one broken away by Aaron Susi. He came into contact there with, it appeared to be Peter Albers. And of course, it seems that Aaron Susi got the worst of that, as you can see him holding his head as if to say, hey, a possible headache may be setting in here. So Aaron Susi apparently okay. You can see him walking here down towards the halfway line as the goal kick about to come in from Jimmy Wang. What a strong foot he's got. That one out past the halfway line. You saw Tuna One go up for the attempted header against Santiago Rodriguez. The offsides incurs, and that one belted back across the halfway line by the Bucks. Pobarkis, he's 6'3", taking full advantage of his height. He's very, very good in the air. Garrison on the far side. You can see him working against Hernan Valdivia. So look to see Tim Fontana, the goalie, edge this one towards either the left or the right circle. This time it looks like he'll go to the right, and that one actually ends up pretty much in the middle. He generally doesn't like to do that. That one, of course, ending up right where a majority of the players are. Likes to scoot it out to either the right or left. The centering pass to Pabarkas, who goes back to Scatolini and taken away by Hernan Valdivia. Jimmy Wang showing great speed, hustling back on the defensive end. Works it up to Pabarkas. Pabarkas to Schuyler. Schuyler takes it across the halfway line. Pushes it out to Tony Seiler. And Socrates Scatolini being defended by Hernan Valdivia. Aaron Asusi, you can see him dropping way back as to give himself plenty of momentum here on the toss in. And that one, of course, defended real well by Zaid Mikhail.
Aaron, that's all they're doing. They want to bump you and get you off your game.
You can see the Punisher setting up for Hernan Valdivia. And it appears that Hernan will actually give way to Tim Fontana, and he'll kick it away. And Tim lifting on that one actually down towards the penalty arc as Jimmy Wang goes high up in the air. And Jimmy getting somewhat low bridge there by Zaid Mikhail. Apparently Zaid not under the impression that he did do the low bridge, and you can see him hustling towards the official as to say, hey, I didn't feel I was at fault, but apparently he was, as Sanguinetti hustles on the far side as the ball crosses the touchline just across the halfway line. So the Saints come into tonight's game having 61 goals for their team and only allowing 25 as Jimmy Wang just lets that ball cross the goal line. On the other hand, the Bucks come into tonight's game with a goals for of 47 and, of course, giving up 26 goals on the year. And they have, of course, 6 shutouts. Tony Seiler works that one up to Susi. You can see Socrates Scatolini just trying to get out of the way so they could break that ball up towards Seiler. So you can see Tim Fontana just kind of surveying the field, and this time he'll go to the left side of the center circle. You see Critelli Scatolini, the brother of Socrates, hustling up on the defensive end just to try to keep the ball in possession of the Bucks. So you can see the cheerleaders here on the near side helping retrieve the ball. A decent little turnout in this evening's game. A lot of people here witnessing this Division III CIF soccer final. And if the second half is any indication of the first half of play, this one will go right down to the wire. And that one brought out by Matt Tessier. Seiler gets it out to Susi. He slips down, and that allows Paul Terhar to get the ball into the hands of Tim Fontana.
Sock, pitch to the middle.
So on that far side there was a little bit of pavement just outside the touchline that might possibly have caused Aaron Susi to slip there. Terhar with the header up to the Flash, and coming away with it was Ty Guzik. He's just a sophomore. You can see him showing a lot of hustle as they hustle the ball across the halfway line, and coming away with it, and a nice play is Zaid Mikhail with a 1-on-3 break, and he'll do basically the only thing that he could do, as he didn't have a teammate or two to help him out. Shot that one from well outside the 18, and of course Chad Willenberg having plenty of time to make the play. Jonathan Santos tries to get that one upfield to Carlos Sanguinetti. So in tonight's first game, it was the University defeating La Jolla by a score of 2-1. Or actually make that 2-0. As you saw Josh Schuyler go up way high on that one. Santiago Rodriguez is trying to get the ball towards the halfway line. And Tessier hustling up, and Jerry Smith as well. Arturo Porco working at the halfway line. Pabarkis works that one out to Matt Garrison, centering pass into Scatolini, and that one broken up by Hernan Valdivia. Matt Garrison, the strong kick downfield by Critelli Scatolini. Susi and Pabarkis working on the offensive end, and the strong shot outside the 18 by Tony Seiler. That one about 3 feet too high.
You come here, you can always cut into your right, but you give yourself space and time, okay? Nick, good job, keep it up.
So you see Tony Seiler in your screen. He's a senior. Tony, an all-Western League honorable mention player. Actually played as a defender against the Saints with just 6 minutes and 33 seconds here in the first half of play. Still no score. But of course, Seiler moved up to midfield to solidify the midfield positioning for the Bucks. But he works well with the left winger on that side, so an effective move by Coach Bruce Cochran. And that's Tony Seiler there, working here on the near side. Pabarkis with the one-touch pass out to Susi. That one taken away by Jerry Smith. The Punisher doing a great job there. And Susi works it down to Scatolini. And Socrates will work it against Tessier. The centering pass to Seiler. The shot and a save by Tim Fontana. So a nice play there by Tim, and both goalies coming into tonight's game showing us why they have, in fact, saved or only given up 5 and 3 goals, respectively, in league play. Tony Seiler, centering pass to Socrates, out to Susi. Susi splitting the defenders, the shot, score it! What a pretty play there. It appeared that he might try to center that one back to Socrates or Pabarkis for that matter, but he splits 2 defenders, gets free with his left foot, and squeezes that one right through the right part of the goal line. So an excellent play. 5 minutes and 14 seconds left in the half. The Mission Bay Bucks go out in front of the St. Augustine Saints by a score of 1-0. So the Saints going left to right on our video dial. You can see Craig DeLuz hustling on the offensive end. But of course, Jimmy Wang and Josh Schuyler there to defend. So both teams getting their share of shots on goal in the first half of play here. And finally, the Bucks able to come away with a goal as Matt Garrison has that one broken away. A sliding tackle by Matt Tessier. So Aaron Susi in your screen. And the strong kick from outside the 18 there by Ty Guzik. Fontana works that one out. And the header by Tony Seiler. Seiler, of course, the taller of the 2 players battling at the halfway line. As Jonathan Santos working it downfield. That one taken away by Susi. Socrates working against two defenders, possibly three. Works outside to Pabarkas, and he's tripped accidentally by Jonathan Santos. So the University of San Diego High School defeating La Jolla in the first game tonight by a score of 2-0 in the finals, the girls' final. So the University of San Diego High School, the champs in their division. The header by Tessier. And the kick, and that one scored! That one started by Josh Schuyler, kicking it through. It basically needled right through a couple players. May very well have hit one player as it scooted in, and that, of course, throwing off the vision of Tim Fontana, was unable, of course, to control that one. So within 3 minutes of play, the Mission Bay Bucks go out in front of the Saints by a score of 2-0. So, of course, we mentioned that Josh Schuyler initially kicked that ball, and it may very well went off of the body. It appeared to me to be Matt Garrison, the player that will get credit for that goal. It seemed to have scooted right off of the body of Garrison. We'll have to find out at the half officially who was credited with the goal, but either way, and that one, of course, just scooting through and surprising Fontana. That probably one of the toughest shots to defend against, as it ricochets off a player of two. It makes it very difficult for the goalie to react accordingly, as Valdivia puts that one on a one-hopper right into the hands of Chad Willenberg. So the clock here on the far side shows under 3 minutes to play, and they will stop the clock there to allow the referees to have an official time as to not cause any confusion here to the fans spectating tonight's game. The strong header by Jimmy Wang. That one, of course, working far downfield, but controlled by Jerry Smith. As you see, Valdivia and Matt Tessier hustling back on the defensive end. So you heard the PA announcer there to express the very thought that I just shared with you earlier. The official, of course, will take care of the time from here on in for the closing of the first half of play, but definitely under 3 minutes to go in the half, as that one gets off to the right. The shot from way out by the Saints. So I might add that the two goals that were scored against the Saints here by the Bucks are actually the first two goals scored in the playoffs. In the quarterfinals, they defeated University City 3-0, and against Crawford, they beat them 1-0. So the Saints finding themselves scored upon here for the first time in the CIF playoffs. As Pabarkas works it out to Susi. Susi controlling with the pass out to Seiler. Seiler tripped up there momentarily, regains his balance. Susi centering pass after the shot, and that one coming up was Pabarkas as the ball got away from Fontana. Pabarkas right there to recover. He puts the shot on goal. That one goes just off to the left, but we almost had three unanswered goals by the Bucks within a 3 or 4 minute time frame. So the Bucks really converging on the offensive end in the latter parts of the first half of play. So the Bucks have great footwork, great balance, great agility in showing that tonight as they're well out in front 2-0 with just under 3 minutes to go in the first half of play. And that will do it. The first half of play coming to a close. The Mission Bay Bucks 2, the San Augustine Saints 0. I'm Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions. We'll be back in a moment for the second half of play. Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions. We are back here at Torrey Pines High School. The second half of play just about to get underway. The Mission Bay Bucks will go left to right on our video dial in this half. The Saints, of course, will go right to left. So the scenario in the first half of play, breaking away on the left side, split through a couple of defenders and squeezed one through for the first goal of the game. And then the second goal coming on an assist by Josh Schuyler into what appeared, I thought, to be to Matt Garrison, but the ball actually scooting off of the body of Nick Pabarkis. So Nick, of course, getting credit for the second goal, and Schuyler, of course, on the assist as Garrison hustles down on the far side. And, of course, in the first half of play, there was no score. A few shots on goal by each respective team, but the Mission Bay Bucks just basically came alive in the latter part of the first half of play. Just kept the ball down in the goal area and were threatening many more times than the Saints. And of course it shows on the score. They're out in front 2-0. The header by Arturo Porco. So Bruce Cochran, in his 6th year as the coach for the Bucks, has to be very, very pleased with where his team stands at this juncture. Of course, his philosophy coming into tonight's game was just get the ball on the floor and just knock it around, get all the players to have an opportunity to get a feel for the ball. And of course, as far as the defense is concerned, it's just deny the space and shut them down very, very quickly. And that, of course, what they're doing on the defensive end, as they have not allowed a goal, of course, in tonight's game. And they have to feel great about that as the Saints come into tonight's game with 10 shutouts. So Critelli Scatolini in your screen, and Critelli was an all-Western League honorable mention player, very strong player. Gets a little bit overzealous at times, says Coach Bruce Cochran, but overall an excellent player and a big part of the Bucks' success on the year. As Jerry Smith hustles on the near side here, that ball crosses the touchline as Smith was working against Santiago Rodriguez. And that one hit the back of Matt Garrison. And Matt, it almost appeared to have accidentally gotten in the way, and a yellow card, of course, is going to be thrown against Matt Garrison. And Matt, of course, you can tell, very displeased with the call. I almost, from my angle, thought that Matt just accidentally got himself in the way, but he may very well have done that on purpose, and of course only Matt knows. Either way, he's got a yellow card. Bruce Cochran will sit him down to regain his composure and relax a little bit as Arturo Porco works it against Santiago. Tries to center it towards Paul Terhar, and that one taken away by the hustling defense of the Bucks. So hopefully in the case of the Saints, they will follow the advice and philosophy of Coach Jim Duffy. He always comes in playing fairly conservative in the first half, puts a little bit more pressure in the second half, and then, of course, attempts and tries to take a lot of shots from the outside. Of course, the Saints come into tonight's game having scored a lot of goals from corner kicks. But they are a very aggressive attacking team with good defense, of course, going up against a very talented team tonight in the Bucks. Socrates Scatolini kicks that one up towards Pabarkis, but of course that one headed by Hernan Valdivia. Santiago pushes it to the outside and works that one up to Brooks Howard. And Brooks, of course, coming into the game. And he's a young player. The coach feels he has a good future. He's, of course, into the game for Matt Garrison, who had to sit down with a yellow card we mentioned earlier. So Brooks, of course, just a sophomore, a talented young player for Mission Bay. And, of course, Coach Bruce Cochran very happy to know that he'll have Brooks back for 2 more solid years. So Matt Tessier will handle the toss in for the Saints. The Saints will have to get something going offensively as quick as possible to try to get that momentum on their side going into the latter parts of this game. As you see Jimmy Wang hustling on the far side, finding controls, passes it up towards Susi. Also Ty Guzik working that ball across the halfway line as well. And of course, Chad Willenberg, the goalie, having plenty of time to come out of the box. So 34 minutes approximately. Again, that's the unofficial time, the time that we'll have on the clock, as Willenberg works that one across the halfway line, headed by Tessier and Josh Schuyler. Very good in the air as well. Zaid McHale with the header down towards Albers. Albers trying to trap and control, being marked and tackled very well by Ty Guzik. Ty, of course, starting for his first year this year. Was an all-Western League honorable mention player, has a very strong left foot. And Ty, of course, will handle the toss-in for the Bucks as they go left to right on our video dial. Susi trying to control at the halfway line along with Socrates Scatolini. And he'll try to scoot through a player or two and works it against Arturo Porco, and contact is made, and the Bucks will retain possession on the far side. And you can see Socrates Scatolini appears to be shaken up on the play. You can see the center referee, Brian Elliott, speaking with him to find out if Socrates will be okay, and he appears to be okay, and I'm sure he'll stay in the game. So Socrates, a first-team all-Western League player, comes into tonight's game with 12 goals and 5 assists. Has great skills. The key for him, of course, is as he's hustling downfield, is just to keep his head up and survey the field, know where everyone is, because if he can do that, he's a great passer, distributes the ball very, very well. So Socrates Scatolini, a productive player for the Bucks. Brooks Howard working on the left side. You can see the Bucks just trying to keep that ball down in their goal area, and Tessier coming away with it. Socrates trying to dribble back and forth, finally has it taken away by the Saints. And a nice tackle there by Ty Guzik. The header by Socrates tries to get it out to Aaron Susi. Sanguinelli working against Guzik and Scatolini. Santiago Rodriguez just belting that ball across the halfway line. You can see him turn towards the coach and say something to him. I'm not sure if Santiago was actually pleased with the kick that he just made, but it was somewhat effective as the Bucks, of course, keep possession. As Schuyler takes that one from well outside the 18 from the right side. And, of course, Tim Fontana having plenty of time. And Jimmy Wang comes into contact with Craig Deluge. You can see Deluge jumping up and, of course, not being pleased with the call. So, of course, but then again, I was under the impression since he was not pleased, the ball might go in possession of the Bucks, but the Saints will retain possession as Hernan Valdivia will attempt the free kick. Centers it inside to Tessier, and Chad Willenberg able to make the play. 30 minutes left in the ball game. Mission Bay 2, San Augustine 0. Hernan Valdivia pushes it back to Tim Fontana. The header by Albers, Schuyler, and Jimmy Wang. And of course, Wang making the kick towards the halfway line. Arturo Porco working it upfield as well. And Arturo, who generally plays up front as a striker, has been playing more of a midfield and defender position here in the second half of play. Matt Tessier works it back to Valdivia. Zaid McHale centers it to Deleuze, and Craig backs it out outside the 18. The centering pass, and no one there, of course, to help out. You can see Paul Terhar trying to help out in the offensive end. He comes up limping there on the far side, just outside the goal area. He's wearing number 9. Hopefully he'll be okay. Socrates pushes it up to Aaron Susi. And Susi with the centering pass and tapping it in and making a great play was Fontana, as it appeared that the Saints would have their third unanswered goal, but to no avail. We mentioned earlier that Paul Terhar was injured on a previous play, and he's down on the ground. You can see him on the far side, just outside the 18, and I'm sure that Coach Jim Duffy will be sending in a substitute here momentarily. So we will break here in the action for an injury timeout. I'm Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions. An exciting game here in the Division III CIF Soccer Final. Mission Bay 2, San Augustine 0. You see Tony Seiler, the left midfielder, coming off the field. And of course, on the far side, Paul Terhar, who apparently just had his leg cramp up on him, is what it appeared from this angle. So I'm sure he'll be okay. You can see him walking off the field. So I'm sure he'll just probably rest his cramp and be back into the action. But during the injury timeout, Coach Bruce Cochran was just speaking with Socrates Scatolini, just telling him to relax and control himself, not get that much over anxious as he's working the ball up the field, and just try to be more patient because he's a talented player, very skilled. And here comes Socrates now, and that one taken away momentarily by Hernan Valdivia, as Pabarkis works it upfield. Aaron Susi with the corner kick. That one high, and Schuyler heading that one in, of course, broken up by the Saints. Jimmy Wang working it down the near right side. Susi with the centering pass, and Fontana making the nice play. Big strong kick by Fontana. Tessier centering into Deleuze, and Jimmy Wang with a great play defensively as Deleuze was looking for the ball to try to attempt a kick. And both players, Albers goes up for the header, and he went up against number 15. And number 15 is Nels Balvin. He went up for the header against Albers. So Jimmy Wang will put it back in possession of the Bucks. So Nels Balvin just into the lineup as well for the Bucks. Coach Cochran just getting a variety of players in here to the lineup. We've seen Brooks Howard earlier. And of course, Nels, a very strong player in the air. He comes out of Valhalla. So another collision, this one by Schuyler and Albers, and a yellow card will go to Josh Schuyler. So you can see Josh here in your screen, the player responsible for the assist on the second goal for the Bucks, but apparently just being a little more physical than he really should be. Of course, the yellow card incurs. And Tony Seiler, a senior midfielder, into the lineup for Schuyler. So just under 27 minutes to go in the ball game. Mission Bay holding on to a 2-0 lead as Hernan Valdivia heads it back to Fontana. And Coach Bruce Cochran very displeased with the 2 yellow cards given to his players. Of course, feels that he would just like his players to just be confident and play their game. He feels that they can win on talent alone and do not need to have those type of penalties against them, as Socrates Scatolini comes out of the pile-up at the halfway line, and he's limping as well. So a few players getting injured tonight, but Socrates appears to be okay. You can see him jogging downfield as Critelli Scatolini works it inside the goal area. Tessier almost coming away with it. Socrates Scatolini is trapping and finally controlling, and the header by Jerry Smith. Seiler trying to squeeze it between 2 defenders, and Matt Tessier finally knocking it away. Craig DeLuz at the halfway line working against Guzik, and Craig DeLuz, a very talented player, scooting it down the right side. He's tripped up. No call. And Craig, a talented player, comes into tonight's game with 21 goals and 10 assists, and he's just a junior, so Tuna 2, his nickname. He'll be back next year. And a nice pass to Pabarkas, who centers it in and actually shoots that one towards Fontana, and he makes the play. Santiago Rodriguez. A healthy shot from well outside the right side of the 18 by Nick Pabarkas. The header by DeLuz. Sanguinelli. And that one belted away by Jimmy Wang. A nice reverse kick up towards the halfway line. Brooks Howard still into the ball game for the Bucks, working for the Bucks at the halfway line. The header by Ty Guzik. So we are just about halfway through the second half of play. The Mission Bay Bucks, of course, out in front 2-0 over the St. Augustine Saints. If the Saints can get 1 goal here on the board within the next 4 or 5 minutes of play, of course, that will give them the type of momentum that they would need and confidence to get themselves right back into this ball game. DeLuz working on the far side against Guzik. And of course, Ty knocking that one across the touchline on the far side. And of course, the Saints will retain possession on the far side. And that will be Matt Tessier handling the throw-in.
Nick, you gotta follow!
And Matt with that strong toss, and the header there. And a strong header by number 4 just into the lineup is Norman Vukatic. So Carlos Sanguinetti will attempt the corner kick. You can see Arturo Porco in the goal area along with Jonathan Santos. And you'll see the players breaking off the ball here accordingly as the kick comes in. That one a high kick, and that one broken away by Pabarkas. Jerry Smith controlling. Attempts to work it upfield to Norman Vukotic, and that one, of course, marked and tackled by the Mission Bay Bucks. So you can hear Coach Bruce Cochran here on the near side about to bring a substitution in, and it appears to be Brooks Howard who will come out of the lineup. And Josh Schuyler, the player that had the yellow card earlier, appears to go back into the game, and that will be the case. And also Matt Garrison. So both players that had yellow cards. And of course, Bruce Cochran sitting them down so that they could think about what they did earlier and just get themselves right back into the ball game. So Nels Balvin coming out of the game as well as the Saints scooted up and the shot on goal. Score it, Matt Tessier. So I just mentioned here a moment ago that the Saints have got to get themselves on the board here to have any opportunity to get themselves back into the ball game. And it's a shot like that that can give the Saints the type of momentum and confidence that they need to tie this game up. So turning out to be an exciting match here. You're watching the Division III CIF Soccer Finals. Socrates Scatolini pushes it outside to Susi. He works inside the one-touch shot towards the goal, and Fontana, of course, coming away with the save as Guzik appeared to make contact with Albers. And Craig DeLuz on the far side, you can see him getting water. I don't think he's going to come out of the game. I think he's just taking a little water break there. But Craig, an integral part of the offense here of the Saints. So you can see an injured player there down on the far side in the goal area. We'll find out it's Matt Tessier, the player that, of course, scored the goal for the Saints. And not sure right now of the injury. He may very well have just got the breath knocked out of him. But as he comes up, you can see him limping somewhat, so he may very well have got his knee banged up on the play. So we'll see if he'll stay in the ball game or go out. We'll find out here momentarily. You can see him jogging towards the sideline, so he might just take a rest here. So Matt, of course, jogging off the sideline to a nice applause from the Saints spectators. Of course, Matt responsible for the goal as the Saints trail by 1. Paul Terhar in your screen for the Saints. Arturo Porco works up across the halfway line. Albers has that one taken away by Critelli Scatolini. As Tony Seiler works it upfield to Matt Garrison. Make that Jerry Smith on the defense. And that one headed there by Scatolini. Seiler and Garrison pushed from behind by the Punisher. And you see there why he has the nickname the Punisher. Jerry Smith, a very, very aggressive player, just hustling up across the halfway line and coming into contact of the back of the Bucks, of course, resulting in the 3rd yellow card of the game, 2 for the Bucks and 1 for the Saints, and of course the first yellow card for Jerry Smith. So we are halfway through the second half of play. The Mission Bay Bucks holding on to a 2-1 lead over the Saints. This is turning out to be a very exciting matchup. Critelli Scatolini almost losing his footing there. Finally pushes it out to Schuyler. Schuyler sending pass to Pabarkis. And that one broken up by Jonathan Santos. Socrates Scatolini splitting the defenders. And a great play there by the Saints to come away with that one. It appeared to be Arturo Porco, who we mentioned earlier, generally starts for this team as a striker and has been playing defense virtually the whole game. So appearing to be an effective move by Coach Jim Duffy, as Porco getting the job done on the defensive end very well tonight for the Saints.
Come on now, Yellow.
And speaking of Arturo Porco, he's actually played soccer for 12 years and actually played when he was 15 years old for the USA Blitz team, a traveling club team. So a lot of experience for Porco to add to this Saints team. So Schuyler getting it into Seiler, controlled by Socrates. Contact made by Porco, and of course the Bucks working along the far side. Susi has that one broken up nicely by Hernan Valdivia, marking and tackling, coming away with it. They push it across the halfway line. Albers up to Sanguinetti, who shoots it, and that one taken away by the hustling Critelli Scatolini. But a gallant attempt by Carlos Sanguinetti. He was working basically one-on-one against the goalie, and Chad Willenberg doing a great job coming out of the box to make the play, and of course being helped out by Critelli Scatolini as well. So a credit to the Bucks on the defensive end on that play. 17.5 minutes left in the ball game. As Matt Tessier sets up to attempt the corner kick, or actually make it the toss-in to Porco, who has it broken up by Matt Garrison, and Critelli Scatolini bumps that one off of his chest. Ball gets behind him, he traps it, works it up to Garrison, and that one defended by Paul Terhar, and Garrison controls on the right side. The shot, and coming up to make the save, was Fontana. As Jimmy Wang hustles up and just scoots past the goalie there, Willenberg. It appeared that Jimmy Wang might come into contact with it. Was basically just trying to screen the body of Sanguinetti. So a good play there by Jimmy Wang, a smart player. And Jimmy coming into contact that time with Matt Tessier. You can see Matt showing good sportsmanship there, just grabbing the neck area of Jimmy Wang as if to say, hey, it was just accidental. Let's just play this game the way it's supposed to be played. And banging away and battling right here in front of us was Critelli Scatolini against Zaid McHale. And again, it appears this time that Zaid takes the brunt of the punishment as he comes up limping and appears to have strained his left knee a little bit, but he turns to the official to say, hey, I'm okay and I'll stay in the ball game. So again, a lot of the players tonight coming up with little leg injuries. No one, of course, seriously hurt. 16 minutes and 17 seconds officially left on the clock. The Bucks still maintaining a 2-1 lead over the Saints. This one turning into a classic.
You keep your back man to man. Don't let them run
Santiago Rodriguez
forward.
will handle the toss in, and he'll actually go back to Chad Willenberg. Sanguinetti just hustling up. And Willenberg gets that one across the halfway line, headed by Matt Tessier. Susi on the header, coming into contact with Porco. So Susi and the Bucks will retain possession just outside the penalty arc. You can see the St. Augustine Saints lining up in their wall. Matt Garrison in the goal area, along with Pabarkis, and that one shot right towards the goal and right into the arms of Fontana. Albers working against three defenders, Schuyler, Wang, and Scatolini as well. Of course, the ball getting away from the Saints, but also not staying in possession of the Bucks. St. Augustine retaining on the far side. And Jerry Smith here at the halfway line in your screen here right in front of us, coming back into the ball game. He had a yellow card earlier. And Jerry, of course, a very strong player on the defensive end for the Saints, so they do need him here in the closing 14 minutes of play. Arturo Porco in the air. Schuyler controlling. Sanguinetti to Albers. Albers attempting to go out to McHale, and that one broken up by Rodriguez. Santiago, of course, another well-rounded player, was an all-Western League second-teamer. Has 2 goals and 4 assists on the year as Pabarkis is charged from behind by Porco. And you can see Aaron Susi just looking around, trying to decide who he's going to push this one upfield to. And Pabarkis heads it. Socrates Sanguinelli gets his foot on it. Rodriguez pushing it to Susi and back outside to Matt Garrison, who pushes it just off to the left. The corner kick. And of course that was headed by Josh Schuyler. That one just getting away from him off to the left side of the goal. But a gallant attempt by Schuyler. Josh, a very well-rounded player. Comes into tonight's game, has 3 assists on the year, has already added 1 to that collection tonight by assisting the 2nd goal for the Bucks. Santos on the far side tries to work it upfield, and that one, of course, getting away from him, crossing the touchline on the far side, and Josh Schuyler and the Bucks will go left to right on our video dial. But Josh, of course, with the 3 assists on the year, is also a first-team Western Leaguer. So a lot of the players for the Bucks garnering honors. And of course, I spoke with the Saints and tried to find out who had the honors for their team, and apparently they have not given out the Harbor League awards yet. So none of the players are aware of who was named to the first and second teams respectively. But of course, a lot of the players having successful years. We mentioned how Craig DeLuz comes into tonight's game with 21 goals and 10 assists. Tim Fontana, the goalie, only allowing 5 goals all year long in league play. Matt Tessier has 9 goals and 9 assists. Zaid McHale with 10 assists. And Carlos Sanguinetti with a great year as well with 14 goals and 13 assists. So a lot of excellent players for the Saints that will probably be garnering post-game awards, or postseason awards, I should say. Garrison centers it into Socrates, and that one belted away by Paul Terhar, or make that Hernan Valdivia. Norman Vukotic on the far side for the Saints. The centering pass to Garrison, broken up by Jerry Smith. The header by Cretella Scatolini. Second consecutive header by Rodriguez as they push it up to Garrison, who tries to go to Pabarkis, taken away by Hernan Valdivia. And Valdivia attempting to push that one up to Craig DeLuz. And of course that one gets away from him. Josh Schuyler in your screen. The header by Zaid McHale here on the near side. We'll give Josh Schuyler another attempt as he goes into Garrison. Defended there by Matt Tessier. And Matt appearing to be hampered by that leg once again here on the near side.
Come on, referee!
So we're under the 10-minute mark here in the ball game. Peter Albers has that one taken away by Critelli Scatolino. And Matt Tessier, you can see he's cramping up here, right here in your center screen. I'm sure we'll take an injury timeout here. I'm Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions. We'll be back in a moment. So Matt Tessier, the player we took the injury timeout for, you can see him going off the field. Matt just really taking a beating tonight. Had his right knee injured earlier, and then he appeared to have his left leg cramp up on him, and you can see him limping off the field. They apparently subsided the cramp, but his right knee still ailing him, so Matt, of course, will take a break. Matt, a consistent player all year long for the Saints. A big loss for them. Hernan Valdivia with the free kick, well downfield. The header by Albers inside. That one, of course, crosses the goal line. And the goal kick, of course, coming up here for the Bucks. So Jimmy Wang trying to attempt a trick play along with goalie Chad Willenberg. Of course, the Saints dropping back, trying not to get fooled. As Garrison works that one upfield, attempts to go to Pabarkis. The ball crosses the touchline here on the near side. Josh Schuyler. So Peter Albers will have possession here for the Saints. So unofficially, 7.5 minutes left in the match as Jimmy Wang hustles up, marks and tackles, tosses that one from behind his head. Unable to control as Zaid McHale has that one taken away by Santiago. They center it in towards Craig Deluge. You can see him working against Schuyler, and Craig just trying to sweep that one around. The ball bouncing just above his foot as Garrison centers it to Schuyler. Schuyler will work it down the center of the field and has that one broken up by Jerry Smith. A great play. Schuyler really hustling down there on what appeared to be a 4-on-3 break against the Saints, and the Punisher, Jerry Smith, coming away with a great sliding tackle for the Saints, as to not allow any type of shot on goal by the Bucks as they were surging offensively. So Santiago Rodriguez will take a break. And Gaber Horton, a sophomore midfielder, into the lineup for the Bucks. As you can see, the players slipping on the far side, just outside the goal area. That, of course, was Carlos Sanguinetti working against two defenders. And, of course, the Bucks able to have possession going left to right on our video dial. So we're under 6 minutes to play in the ball game. The Saints, of course, trailing by 1 here. Of course, need to threaten a few more times on the offensive end to get themselves back into the game. The Mission Bay Bucks, of course, threatening more times on the offensive end than the Saints all evening long. So, of course, the Saints will have their work cut out for them to get back into the match. And Jimmy Wang, it appears, will handle the goal kick. Jimmy gets it up towards the halfway line. The header by Albers back towards the Bucks area as Socrates works it in the middle, skips over one player. And Jerry Smith coming away with a nice defensive play once again for the Saints. And Jerry will sit it down and give way to Hernan Valdivia. And Hernan bangs that one down towards Matt Tessier. And of course, handling of the ball is called by Brian Elliott, the center referee. And a good call. You saw that one just bang up against the right arm of Matt Tessier. Matt Teeter is into the lineup for the Saints. He's wearing number 15. Matt goes by the nickname Stork, played on the USA Under-17 team. So a lot of talented athletes on the field as Sanguinetti, it appeared, was centering that one inside to either McHale or Teeter. Of course, that one getting away from both of them. So I was right initially. I said Tessier, thinking that he was out of the ball game, but Matt on the far side just limping again, and he's just trying to keep on playing, and he was the player that was trying to center that one inside to McHale. I had no idea that he came back into the game, and Socrates works it back down for the Bucks, and the shot by Susi. And that should put the icing on the cake here. With 3.5 minutes left in the match, Mission Bay goes out in front 3-1 over St. Augustine. So Aaron Susi just finding himself all alone there on the left side of the goal area. Just squeezed that one right through the right portion of the goal. Fontana had no chance to react to that one. So Susi showing why he is in fact a first-team All-Leaguer, co-player of the year in his league as well. Comes into tonight's game with 17 goals, 12 assists, a dangerous player. So Susi adding to his scoring barrage on the year as Seiler works on the far side. Broken up, of course, by Santos. Jimmy Wang pushes it up to Socrates, and that one marked and, of course, tackled momentarily by Hernan Valdivia as Seiler works on the far side to Susi. And Seiler attempting to push it inside is defended by two of the Saints players, led by Jonathan Santos. So you can see Tony Seiler in your screen, and replacing him will be Santiago Rodriguez. So Tony gets a nice hand as he comes off the field. And Tony, of course, we mentioned earlier, Coach Bruce Cochran making the acquisition of sending Seiler to midfield to solidify that midfield position, end up being a productive move. The Bucks are looking for the Division III final here. So Santiago Rodriguez, of course, just back into the lineup as Josh Schuyler on the far side. Will take it in towards Pabarkis. Socrates working against Jerry Smith. Susi, and that shot just off to the left. So you can see both Craig DeLuz and Santiago Rodriguez just battling at the halfway line. And then, of course, both of the players exchange words. You can see the center referee just divide them apart and say, hey, play ball. So the clock on the field says 3 minutes, so we will let the officials take over. And that will do it. Officially, this game is history. The Mission Bay Bucks, as they hustle towards the field to celebrate and jump amongst one another, walk away with the Division III CIF Soccer Championship. They're victorious over the Saints by a score of 3-1. I'm Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions. We'll be back in a moment for the post-game show.
Next, sophomore midfielder, number 18, Britton Johnston. Now we have sophomore midfielder, Steve Wisnu. Freshman forward, number 15, Matt Teeter. Following our starting St. Jude for the evening, senior goalie, Tim Montana. Senior defender, number 2, Jerry Smith.
Good job, Timmy.
Tessier, number 3. Senior forward, number 5, Carlos Sanguinetti. Senior forward, number 14, Zaid Mikhail. Junior midfielder, number 16, Arturo Marco. Junior defender, number 7, Jonathan Santos. Junior defender, number 9, Paul Tejar. Junior midfielder, number 11, Peter Almer. Junior defender, number 13, Hernan Valdivia. Junior forward, number 17, Craig DeLune. Accepting the runner-up class, head coach of the Saints, James Duffy. Runner-up.
Come on in, guys. Hey, guys, come on. Gentlemen, come here.
Excuse me, Ron Wells. Meeting Mission Bay Buccaneers tonight, goalkeeper number 0, Chad Willenberg. Goalkeeper and junior. Next, number 10.
CIF. Oh my God. Yeah. This way, Edmund. Go, Craig! Come on, all the way down, Chuck, all the way down. Yeah. All the way down, Chuck. Come on, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Matthew. Good job, Nick. Good goal, Nick got his goal in CIF. That was awesome, man. Yeah! Jacoby! Victory lap, come on! Come on! Yeah!
All right, you just saw both teams being awarded, and deservingly so. The Bucks coming away with a nice victory over the Saints by a score of 3-1. We're going to find out about all the players that made it possible. We'll start with the talented senior right winger, Matt Garrison. Matt, how does it feel being the Division III champs, first of all?
It's insane.
Talk to us about the highlight for the whole season for you. Was tonight's game the highlight, or any one particular game that stands out in your mind as being your best?
I think the whole year was great, and hanging out with Aaron Susi and Socrates Scatolini, Tony Seiler, and I think we owe a lot of this to our coach this year, because we got probably the coolest coach I think there ever is.
Okay, all right. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Take care of yourself. All right. All right, joining us now is the big guy, Nick Pabarkis. Talking about this, the goal that you scored tonight, it seemed like Skyler had the ball on the right side of the goal area. He squeezed it through a low trajectory shot. I wasn't sure who scored the goal. Talk about how that goal came about for you.
Well, I have to owe that goal a really great deal to Josh Skyler. I mean, he just placed it in there, and I was just there for the tap-in. You know, just got to be at the right place at the right time. But, you know, whatever goes in, goes in.
Okay. Let me ask you this. When they scored their first goal to attempt to come back, did that get you a little bit nervous, or did you feel like you guys could overcome these guys once again as you beat them earlier?
Yeah, I was pretty concerned, but I felt that we have the strength, just in all the team, you know, that we can overcome really anything that they can put at us. So, you know, I was worried, but you know, I feel so confident in our defense that it wouldn't really make a difference.
Okay. Aside from tonight's game, obviously you're the Division III champs. That has to feel great. Think back on the whole season now. You guys have 14 victories on the season. What game sticks out in your mind as being the best one for you individually?
Well, as a team, I feel as though La Jolla, you know, okay. we really. I gave it to him. It was La Jolla. You know, I think as a team we really came together. You know, they're our rivals, and we really did pound them. I think that really helped out.
All right. Closing thoughts on how it feels being the Division III champs.
Oh, it feels great. There's nothing in the world like it.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. Good luck. Take care. All right. All right, joining us now is Jimmy Wang, one of the talented players, co-player of the year in the Western League. First of all, how's it feel being the Division III champs, Jimmy?
Feels great, man. I've been waiting 3 or 4 years for this.
Okay, let me ask you this. Now, their team, they had some talent up front in Duluth. Now, when they were going down on the offensive end, threatening to score, was that getting you a little bit nervous in the early parts of the game?
Well, yeah, because our outside backs were marking up, but we were pressing an attack where our outside backs would go up the side. But then once they cleared the ball, their outside forwards would have a breakaway. but we caught up, and they only scored 1 goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you guys beat them now twice in a row. Did you have any different type of strategy individually coming into this game? Because you knew how they were in the last game. What did you try to do individually as a role player in tonight's game to be a little more successful against them, as you were?
Well, first of all, when we played them, it was the first game of the season. Both teams were unorganized. But second of all, we definitely had to work on headers. Those guys are tall, and I'm only 5'6", and those guys are huge.
Okay. Talk to me about this. You're a standout defender, but yet you've got 4 or 5 goals on the season. Talk to me about the most creative goal that you scored this year.
The most creative?
Yeah.
It's probably it's probably against Kearney when I stepped in a wall and the ball was sideways, like parallel with the goal.
Okay.
And I turned and I hit it and I fell and I hit it like lower V.
Okay.
That was basically it.
All right. Closing thoughts on playing with a bunch of talented teammates.
I'm gonna miss him.
Okay.
I'm gonna miss him.
Right.
Go Bucks!
There you go. All right. Jimmy Wang, talented player. All right, joining us now is Tim Fontana, the talented goalie for the Saints. Let me ask you this. They were conversion on the goal a lot tonight. Did you feel coming into tonight's game that you had your work cut out for you tonight at that goal spot?
Most definitely. We had watched film, game tapes, saw a lot of what they can do, and it was just a matter of trying to adjust the defense to their style of play. And, you know?
Okay. You guys came out, I was speaking to you guys before the game. You guys said you really didn't expect to have that great of a season. You walk away as a runner-ups in Division III, have to feel great about a productive season.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. You know, we came into the season and we didn't think we were going to have a very great coach, and we ended up getting Coach Duffy. And he was a real great surprise. He held the team together and brought us all the way to the finals his first year. I give him a lot of credit.
Okay, and I mentioned, Tim, during the broadcast that during league play, you only allowed 5 goals against you. So you had a great season, a great productive season. You're a senior, am I right?
Right.
What's going to happen for you next year? You're going to go and try to play some ball in college?
I've been accepted to the United States Naval Academy, and
Okay.
so that's going to be my first choice. And so I'm just hoping to get into the soccer program there.
Okay, all right. We wish you the best of luck. Take care of yourself and good luck to you. Okay. All right, from left to right, the talented players here for the Bucks. We got the goalie, Chad Willenberg. Then we got Josh Schuyler. And on the third from the left is Aaron Susi. Then we have Socrates and his brother, Critella Scatolini. So a talented group of players. Okay, talk to us, guys. How does it feel being the Division III champs?
Yeah! Number 1! Yes!
Okay, let's do this. We're going to ask each one of you tonight the most rewarding part of the game for each of you individually tonight. Best part of the game for each of you.
The ending score, 3-1, Mission Bay!
I got 2, hammering number 11 and getting my assist in the CIF finals.
Good job.
Watching my best buddy, Aaron Susi, nailing it behind that net.
There you go.
Yes,
Aaron.
scoring 2 goals and hearing that end whistle right there.
Okay, talk to me, Aaron, about the goal that you felt the best about, the most creative of the 2 for you.
I think the first one was the best one. The second one was kind of luck. It just kind of rolled to me and let it get to my left foot. And then I placed it right in the corner. And the first one, I was more on the down line, 1-2 quick, beat him, saw him slide under me. I jumped over him. I got it in the corner, you know. I was really stuck.
Can you elaborate on that? Just kidding. All right, go ahead, Socrates.
Just winning the game was the best one for me, just winning the game.
Yeah. Okay, talented player, fun to watch, real good control of the ball. All right, brother Critelli, right?
Just being CIF number 1 champions. Yes, sir.
That's it. All right, closing thoughts on being a champ.
Number 1!
Coming back next year! Next year!
All right, that closes things out here at Torrey Pines High School. I'm Mike Benson for George Langevin Productions. You heard it from all the players. The Bucks walk away the Division III champs. This has been a George Langevin production presentation.